Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ravery Sports Podcast. This is Charles, the owner, get that hat straight, the owner of Ravery Sports. Thank you for joining us this week. If you're watching us this week, thank you for joining us on TikTok, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter. Thank you very much. All right, so like and subscribe to all of our videos here. You can go ahead and do that as well. Tell everybody you know about Ravori Sports, our weekly podcast that we have. A lot of our content is on TikTok every week. We're going to start doing some more content on TikTok and Instagram, so we can go ahead and watch that. Usually they're short, so you can go ahead and check that out. Genesis Notary Services is my notary business, so definitely we will come right out with you. Go ahead, if you are in need in notary services, we will go ahead and come right out if you live in the Shenandoah Valley area. Website is live, ravorisports.company.site. It's on the bottom of the screen. You can buy a lot of our Orioles and Ravens merchandise right on the website. It's live, available for purchase right now. And we will be coming out to you in person this summer. The Ravori Sports Tour. We're going to do a couple flea markets this summer. Be in July and August right there. So right now we're getting everything together like that. We're going to be in Baltimore. We're going to be in Frederick. We're going to be in Hagerstown. And we're going to Hagerstown, Maryland. For those who don't know, farther away. Hagerstown, Maryland. And also in White Post, Virginia. So we will go ahead and be doing that this summer. Ravori Sports Tour. I'll be out there talking sports with you and selling our merchandise and products, talking about the brand. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, this week it's over. The draft, we had a Lamar signing. This week, his first week as a content creator, I don't have to talk about the Lamar Jackson contract like we've been doing for the last 2 years. We're going to talk about the draft that we just had. Ravens had the draft this week. The whole league rather had the draft. We're going to go over the Ravens draft. We're going to go over the whole league. We're going to do the Ravens first as well. We're going to take a look at what they did in the draft to go ahead and strengthen their team, what this means for the Ravens and a lot of teams around the league. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Zay Flowers was the first pick. We went over that in our first post-draft stream there. He was taken with the 22nd pick in the first round. Ravens, I will say, and I thought for sure they would do it. They did not move back. I was almost positive they would, but they kind of held pat. They had the opportunities to move back according to Eric DeCosta, but they weren't happy enough with those opportunities to go ahead and actually pull the trigger to move back. He seemed, I would say, prior to the draft, I don't know if content is the right word, but resigned maybe is a better word, that he was not going to be in the second round. You know, he kind of had his position to move into the second round. I think he was kind of resigned to the fact that wasn't going to happen, that he wasn't going to be able to do that. So I think he kind of just, okay, let's take the best guy on the board that we have. Zay Flowers, again, first round pick for Boston College. A lot of comparisons to him and Marquise Brown, kind of the similar strength and skill set. I think he's a little bit more complete than Marquise Brown is. Watching him, kind of the same type of player, because the 9 round is the strength, the deep ball for him. Lamar can throw deep to him, same way he could Marquise. I think he doesn't have Marquise's speed, but I think he's a better runner. With Marquise is basically the home run. You don't get behind. You get behind him, Marquise gets behind you, and you can totally forget it. He's gonna outrun you. I think his hands are better. I think his route running is better. I think he's not quite as quick, but it's kind of the same ilk, same size, a little bit bigger too. I like Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is a pick. I think all the receivers, this is about as high as I've taken any receiver. This is about late 1, 2-ish. So this is about right for Zay Flowers. Little surprised that they took a wide receiver. Considering they signed Beckham, they signed Nelson Aguilar. A little bit surprised. What does this mean for Bateman on the depth chart. That'll be interesting to see, and what these moves mean for the guys currently on the depth chart. Trenton Simpson. So no second round pick. They picked third round. Trenton Simpson, linebacker at Clemson. As far as I'm concerned, this is outstanding. If you watch a lot of the mock drafts that I had him going in the first round. I thought he was the best inside linebacker in the draft. Going. Not now. Now I would say this wasn't to me a particularly strong inside linebacker draft, but I think this guy, the Ravens took him because he was the best inside linebacker in the draft. Position of need potentially. We'll go into Patrick Queen and what this means for him. But yeah, this is a guy that good competition he was playing against, good speed. Not the inside linebacker pure, the Mike. So he's definitely, I think, even also good because he's not going to have to play Mike linebacker. Make all the calls right away because they got Roquan Smith. So to put him next to a Roquan Smith, I think is going to be good right away. Still, I still think he's more like the weak side-ish linebacker, inside guy, more than the Mike linebacker inside guy. But I think he's definitely, to get him in the third round is phenomenal. Is phenomenal to go ahead and get him in the third round. Tre'Davious Robinson, edge rush, Ole Miss. So with the Ravens, he's going to be playing an outside linebacker spot. They seem to do this every year. Take these guys like this in the middle rounds, outside linebacker. Difference here, this is not a flyer. This is a guy who played at Ole Miss, played in the SEC. All their picks, pretty much, were not the small school variety. These are bigger schools. Played at Ole Miss. He played pretty well against Alabama. A little smallish, maybe, to be a full-time edge rush. He's about 250, 260. Bit of a speed variety. I think he needs to get a little bit stronger to go ahead and play full-time. But it's definitely something that they need. And this is kind of the route they've been going, like middle round guys, Ajabo, etc. in the middle rounds. There's still a bit of a pass rush issue. We'll see what happens with Justin Houston. So I think this is not a bad pick to make. A lot of talk here. Kai Blue Kelly from Stanford. Very physical coverage corner. It's got a lot of the dog in him, what I call it. A lot of that Deion Sanders, a lot of that. Whenever I see a lot of that with Kai Blue Kelly. Play against good competition in the Pac-10. Solid. I think probably too, because it was such a good cornerback class, he was a little lower. I definitely could see a guy like this going higher if the class and not as high. I mean, there was like first two rounds. I mean, I had like 10, 11 corners really. So I think had it not been for that, you'd have seen him go a little bit higher. But he didn't go higher. He went right where he should have went in the sense of the current quarterback class. So sorry about that. So he went right where he should have been in the current cornerback class. He was in the fifth round. That's about right for him. So Kai Blue Kelly, why did he go so low? 40 time to me wasn't great. For a physical, tough corner, he ran about a 4.5. That's not great. When you're cornerbacks, and I'll also have the opinion, they need to be the fastest guys on the field. They need to be the fastest guys on the field. Now, he's a big guy. It might still work. But that's probably the one thing with him. But perfect for the Ravens. Got to play like a Raven written all over him. All right, now I have this up on the screen. Mala Sa Li O Ma Biala Olu. Deal with it. 1 second. Jordan. Sorry about that. Even when you're recording a video, dad's stuff still happened. Daughter kept going. All right. So pick 6th round, Oregon. So we think about Oregon and Ravens. We think about the great Haloti Ngata, who was played for us for so many years, Presley Hall of Fame defensive tackle. Should be Hall of Fame defensive tackle. This guy played at Oregon, big guy. Probably you see this a lot too now. Guys who play outside, right tackle or whatever in the pros in college, and then they go inside at guard. This guy is a big guard, kind of like Daniel Falele when I've seen him. Massive size, about 345 ish. He kind of was a little bit smaller at the combine, like 330, like 345. Big guy at guard. So he's going to go ahead and play. Going to be in that defensive line rotation in there, fighting for the roster spot there. My guess is practice squad for him at this round because there's a lot of talent on there. But he's big mauler, absolutely fit. This is actually perfect for you guys like this. Here's another guy, Andrew Voorhees. This is a red shirt pick, most likely. He was about a second. He had a tough break here. He was about a second or third round pick. Scheduled to be, you saw him on the marks like before the combine, and he tears his ACL at the combine. At the combine, after he tore his ACL, he still lift weights and did the strength. That tells you what type of heart mentality that this guy has doing things. So absolutely. So it's big, real tough guy. Not gonna play probably after the injury. I remember the Ravens did this years ago. The one I can remember was Anthony Poindexter. That didn't quite work out because of the injury. But here's the thing: why not try it in the 7th round? You got a guy who's projected about 2nd, 3rd round, not gonna play. Why not try it? That tells me, though, I would say this. That tells me that injury is bad. His ACL tear must be really bad. Usually, even the injury doesn't drop you all the way to 7. So I don't know where he's going to get drafted originally, but I'm sure the Ravens are looking at this. Hey, why not take a guy with this type of talent? We know he has NFL talent, 2nd or 3rd level. When healthy, let's see if he can ever get healthy, and let's just try it. So 7th round pick, for sure, almost in this case, he's going to be on IR all year. And and maybe in 2024, see what you have going forward. So here's the draft. Zay Flowers, Trent Simpson, Travis Robinson, Kai Blue Kelly, Lalutu, and Andrew Voorhees are your new Baltimore Ravens. How did the Ravens do? Giving it a grade, I'm going to give it their usual B or B minus. About that. Flowers, I wouldn't have done. I went ahead, signed. Deontay Banks was on the board. I think corner was a bigger priority. We'll get to that. But they did go ahead and take the corner. The corner with a good grade on him in round 5. So you're still probably looking for a corner. I think Trent Simpson, I think is fantastic pick. I think this may be it means a lot for Patrick Queen at this point. Trent Simpson, that's a bigger pick there. That's a big deal there that they don't have Trent Simpson, that they don't have Patrick Queen. We'll talk about that right now. Patrick Queen, I think they're going to handle that similar to what they did with Chuck Clark, in my opinion, the Patrick Queen situation. Last year with Chuck Clark, they went ahead and drafted Kyle Hamilton in the 1st round. Obviously, you take a guy in the 1st round, you have plans for him. You don't plan for him to sit the bench. And so certainly you have plans for Patrick Queen to go ahead and play. You certainly have plans for Kyle Hamilton to go ahead and play, right? Queen, I think, is going to be a Raven on the roster, most likely, next year. I think, but they'll handle it the same way. If there's a deal that blows them away, or if there's something out there that will, if somebody does want to take him, and there's a deal that likes him or something like that that they like, or that's fine. They'll go ahead and do it. I don't think otherwise they do anything. They declined the option. Um, clearly, he's upset about it. I don't blame him for being upset because you take a guy in his position and do that. I think the writing was on the wall, though. Not I don't think the Ravens don't like Patrick Queen. I think the problem is you can't pay two guys 40 million, 50 million. You can't do it. You don't have they don't have the money to go ahead and pay 40, 50 million dollars for two guys. You just can't. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Good draft around the league here. I would say this: the Ravens' draft advantage is diminished over the years, not because of anything they've done wrong, but I think teams by and large draft better. There was always you could count on the Cardinals or the Bengals or the Raiders or to do dumb stuff. There were certain teams that didn't have scouting or they didn't have, they just Commanders when it used to be. I mean, you don't see that now. Teams for the most part across the board is solid. There are teams we'll get to draft losers. There are teams that didn't get it right. I don't think, but yeah, but it's you see that a lot nowadays where teams now are much. I absolutely believe teams across the board are much more efficient at the draft than they used to be. So we'll definitely go into that as well. All right, so let's do our larger NFL content here. We'll go ahead and do a couple of questions here in the NFL. Are the Eagles Super Bowl favorites after the draft? They had a phenomenal draft. Spoiler, they're going to be in the draft winners. I feel that. Getting Jalen Carter, with that front they already have, getting Nolan Smith with the guys that are already there, throw him in with Hassan. Oh my goodness, they are really they really bolstered themselves. Kelly Ringo, a guy that fell to them in the third round, so they get slick. I don't know if you're better than Kansas City. On paper they should. I'll give them that. But Kansas City, I think the gap with Mahomes is so far. I'm not ready to put them in Super Bowl favorites. NFC favorites, absolutely. NFC favorites, absolutely. All right, I gotta say the Eagles after that. Why did Will Levis drop in the draft? I saw inconsistency with Will Levis when I watched him. I'm certainly no Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper loved him. So that's a good endorsement. I thought he was inconsistent. I thought that he's a starter, not a star. Bit inconsistent. I thought when he plays against bad teams, he does very well. You play against Southern Miss, he lights up the board, whatever. I don't know what Mel was saying. He said he saw him on the same level as C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. I didn't think so. I think his top end is. I think he will have days where he looks really good, but I don't think he's consistent enough to do that. I think though I will say you should have dropped as far as he did to the third round. He went to Tennessee, where I thought he would go, but they waited until the second round to do it, which is fine. I think I'm still a bit confused why more teams didn't take quarterback. I really am. I'm kind of like some of these Tampa and Atlanta. And I don't understand why they try hard to get. That's just me. Washington, like Will Levis was a better choice or as good of a choice to take than all those guys that they currently have. So that's why I don't understand that. But hey, I'm not a G. Who will be the next QB to sign a huge contract? Well, now we can stop talking about the mom said one more time. We can stop talking about that. Whoever the next guy is, Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow will be the next guy. Burrow, I think, will really blow the doors off because he's way more accomplished than Herbert is. Herbert, I think, probably the best physically talented quarterback in the league for Los Angeles. Um, there's the only the only question is for him, why isn't he winning more? Why isn't he doing more? Um, we'll see about that. That was a real tell last year with Herbert when they finished second against Kansas City. When clearly they had the talent. So that's the thing. Burrow's going to get a huge deal. Uh, Joe Burrow's going to get a huge deal. Joe Burrow, I think it's going to be north of 55, $56 million easy with what he's accomplished. So we'll see how that goes. Who is the top player in the 2024 draft? More drafts. Next year is a long way away. Caleb Williams is the name for the USC that I keep hearing. That he's going to be the top pick of the draft. I think this year, had he been in the draft eligible, he would have won. He's definitely playing for a guy in Lincoln Riley that is cranked out to NFL quarterback. So you see what Jalen Hurts is doing. I think definitely the quarterback is going to rule off, and he's definitely going to be like that. There is a rumor I've heard a couple times that some of these guys didn't want to take a quarterback because they want Caleb Williams. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would you? I would never do that. Waste a whole seat. Who cares? Why don't you do that? I don't care how good it is. That's just, and there's no guarantee anyway. That's the whole thing. That's the whole my thing with tanking. But Caleb Williams, Drake May is another one name that I'm hearing as far as being top player in next year's draft. But we'll see how that goes. And obviously, we're going to see how the season plays out, etc. And see how that goes as well. Who is the Ravens' best draft pick? Best is always a tough term. Whoever has the best career, obviously. Trent Simpson, I really like. Trent Simpson, I think, makes a lot of sense for them. They're probably not going to sign Patrick Queen. They spend a lot of money on you spend a lot of money on Roquan Smith. So what does that mean? So you can't spend a lot of money the other side for the other inside linebacker position. So you're gonna have to economize, and when you do that, you get a guy in the third round who can start for you, Trent Simpson. If I had the Saints take him, if a team had taken him in the first round, second round, absolutely no problem with that. This guy definitely is a guy, so, especially playing next to Roquan Smith, which makes anybody's life easier when you do that. So he's an outstanding. I think he's an outstanding prospect as far as that goes. So I like the Trent Simpson pick as well. Voorhees is interesting because you're getting great value regardless of what happens at this point. Whoever you end up taking the seventh round, a lot of times isn't going to make the team anyway. So hey, why not take a redshirt guy and see if he's why not do that? So I do like the Voorhees pick as well. Zay Flowers I don't like as much as I'd have liked him better if the Ravens had a second round pick, a trade back and done that and taken Zay Flowers. But I'd have rather went for the corners because you have a need there. So there you go. Definitely, we're going to go ahead and go over that. Our larger NFL content as well. So we're going to do a lot of baseball today as well. And let's talk about this. So, Bravery Sports, we talk Ravens, we talk Orioles. It is at the center of our business. We actually sell our jerseys on our website, ravorisports.company.site. So, that is what we do. But I have always loved the NBA. I've been a lifelong Laker fan. And so, when I started the Lakers and everything, it didn't really fit with the business, right? Like, the Baltimore thing. So, that's why we did not name Bravery Bake Sports. So But we are going to talk about the NBA playoffs, the NBA finals when we get there. The Lakers are in it. Last night I did see they won game one against Golden State. So it was outstanding game. Uh, the Lakers this year is very interesting. I think I thought they were lousy half the year, frankly. But whenever LeBron and AD on the court, it's like the same reason the Jets sign Aaron Rodgers. You have LeBron, you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a shot. You got LeBron, you have a shot. So we'll see how that goes. So when we get to the finals, we'll do a little bit more on that as far as the NBA finals goes, NBA playoffs. We got 8 teams left right now. I think all 8 can win. I don't see any reason why all 8 couldn't win the finals. The parity in the NBA has been very, very, very strange. You had like 10 games. You had like half the league about 10 games apart. It was very strange. So we'll go ahead and check that out. The NBA playoffs. When we go ahead and go check that out when we get to the finals. So we will talk about that. News. We talked about Juan Dixon getting fired at Coppin State, the former basketball player. So they went in a totally different direction. This is very good news. Larry Stewart, probably the greatest player, one of them in Coppin history, former player for the Washington Wizards, was named head coach at Coppin State University. Shout out to Larry Stewart getting the gig at Coppin. Big mess that he has to clean up. Glad to see it. So we talked about Juan being the greatest player in Maryland history. This might be the greatest player in Coppin history. Why not? On that team that night, that team that actually beat South Carolina and went to the playoffs, won the game against first MEAC team to win the NCAA. Been wanting this job for years, from what I've been understanding. Trying to get hired here. They got to go in the opposite direction. So tough road ahead. This is the man that wants the job, that cares about the. I think it's always good, especially in college, especially somebody at the alma mater. You'd be surprised how the coaches. You want somebody who cares about the program. That's absolutely the case with Larry Stewart getting the job at Coppin State as the head coach. All right, outstanding. We are going to take a look at the NFL draft here. But first, let's go ahead and switch to baseball. We are going to recap the Orioles. Outstanding. This was surprising to me how good the Orioles were. When you have football, you can kind of dissect that game by game and everything like that. Baseball is 160 plus games, so it has to be segmented, in my opinion. It's like one game in football equals about 10 in baseball. That makes sense. One game or once, there's always tomorrow. So you got to look at it like on a weekly thing, monthly thing. So we're going to do that. So we're going to recap the month of April for the Orioles. We're going to recap a lot of the players that were going on. Now, just as their record at the end of April, 19-9, they won 8 out of the last 10. They won 5 straight series. Let's take a look at this. So this is their batting order. I want to go over the batting order because looking at the stats, it hasn't changed as much as people think it has. But these are the 9 guys that they've been using on a daily basis. Cedric Mullins, leadoff, Adley Rushman in the second hole, Ryan Mountcastle at first base, Anthony Santander, right field, Austin Hayes in left field, Gunnar Henderson, I put him at third base, Ramon Urias, DH, Adam Frazier at second base, Jorge Mateo at shortstop. Urias I have as a DH. They really haven't used a DH. They've kind of been using different guys at DH. every game. So they really haven't had that at all as far as the DH. So Urias is there. They've basically been moving him around. I didn't know he could play second base as much as he has. So he kind of moved him from second and the third, and they moved him in. Gunnar has been so. This is kind of what they've been doing. They've been kind of been using a lot of times. This these are the group they hear that has the most at bats. Cedric Mullins, among the league leaders in stolen bases. No surprise. Average not as high. He's been around the 250-ish range going forward. Uh, Cedric Mullins hasn't been too bad. Dropped him down to the 7th spot. Dropped him down to the 9th spot in the batting order. I really didn't understand that why they drop him. So I guess he's trying to send a message, but I wouldn't ever move him out of that leadoff spot. Okay, so far. Not great average. Leads among the league leaders of stolen bases. Nothing to worry about there. Adley Rutschman, best catcher in the American League at this point. That's not hyperbole. That's not speaking. Some people would say he's the best in all of baseball. I'm still putting him second right now, but he's been outstanding. Adley Rutschman is pleasure to watching him hit. It's a master class in batting eye. This is real baseball nerd stuff, but you rarely see. To watch years ago, old school fans watch like a Wade Boggs take when he watches the ball, he'll take a spot at the knees, and he'll take that pitch if it's just below, and if it's just above, he'll know to hit it. It's unbelievable how well he knows the strike zone. Hits for power. He looks like he's put on a few pounds of muscle too. So doing very well. Adley, clearly, he's the best player on the team, obviously, as we expected. Ryan Mountcastle, bit of a slump at the end of April. Watched the game last night. He had 2 home runs. That's what he's going to do. He's got 8 now. He had 6. I love Ryan Mountcastle. I think in the 80s and 90s, if he had played, he'd definitely be a bigger star. I think in the area of because he strikes out way too much. He's gotten better, but I think Ryan Mountcastle is phenomenal power hitter. Anthony Santander, slow start here at the start. Hasn't hit a lot of home runs. Hasn't hit for average. Not too worried about it here so far. Bit of a slow start. He's kind of streaky too. He kind of has his times. He's a bit streaky at times, but he is a very good. I'm not so worried about that. Austin Hayes, very good the first month. They hit a little leadoff. I like Austin Hayes. He needed a good first month. There's a lot of talent in the minor leagues like that. He's showing up here early, outstanding. Gunnar off to a slow start. Gunnar Henderson. Teams are kind of figuring out how to pitch him. They're not giving him as good pitches to hit. There's a little bit more of a book on him. Slowly starting to. It's one of those deals where it's not evident, but it's evident. Like if you're really paying attention, hitting a little weak hits, he's starting to grasp it a little bit. A little bit of a learning curve with him. Not too. Now I'm not saying I'm not like, oh wow, it's not nothing like that. A little bit worried about it. Ramon Maria moved around, played DH a little bit, played second base, and played third base. Not great start for him. But he's been okay, good enough. Had some good games, had a good first week or two. Urias, he should be playing everything. I think he's one of the best now. Adam Frazier, as advertised, about what we thought we were going to get from him. Good veteran second baseman, hitter, solid defensive player. He's doing about what we expected, about what is expected from him. Among the league leaders in batting average, Jorge Mateo has been unbelievable, fantastic. He's had great. He steals a lot of bases. His batting average is above 300. We know what he can do defensively. I cannot figure out, and I haven't been able to figure out why fans don't like him so much. I don't know why. Everything I've seen is, and again, I'm more old school, I guess. I don't expect the shortstop, even like all the years. The shortstop is not an offensive position where you're supposed to have all these. You want a good defensive shortstop. You want a guy with speed. You want a guy who can handle the glove defensively. You want a guy. You're not going to get a guy. I think maybe Baltimore fans do get Coward Gift for so many years and all that. This is about what you. This is about what you'd expect from the shortstop. You're not getting. Statistically, this is pretty good. I mean, he's off to a phenomenal start. Let's talk starting pitching. Kyle Gibson hasn't lost a game, didn't lose a game. 4-0, 3.93 ERA. Dean Kramer, a 2-1 record. ERA very high, 6.67. Kyle Gibson has been fantastic. Period. I think even at ERA is deceptive. I think the last start he wasn't that great, but he was very, very good in all his other starts. In April. Kyle Gibson definitely been worth what the Orioles have been paying him. Dean Kramer has struggled. I don't know what to say about Dean Kramer. He wasn't any good before last year. This year he has been good. In the previous year he was probably the best pitcher. And this year he's really struggled out the start. We got to see more from him pretty soon. If he's going to go ahead and stay in the rotation. That's like an ERA of 7. Even though he has won games, he hasn't been that, but he's got to be more consistent. Tyler Wells has been really good. He's actually had some tough luck, I thought. He hasn't been going that long in games. That's probably the thing why I don't like him starting. He kind of goes out of games too often, too early, 5.5, 2. That's why I don't love him as a starter. But he's been really good. There's no question about it. 1-1, 2.79 ERA. Very good at the start. Kyle Bradish, there's your guy. It doesn't surprise me his ERA is over 6. It's inconsistent. He looks great some games, and then he gets creamed. And that doesn't work for me. But Bradish, I think they're going to stick with him. And Bradish has a lot of potential. That I understand. Bradish has a lot of potential. Grayson Rodriguez, 1-0, 4.07 ERA. Starting to get together. Kind of like the Colt and the 2 rookies, kind of like Gunnar. I see progress. Grayson, I see progress. Bullpen has been beyond great. Billy Batista, after a bad first week, has been fantastic. 7 saves, 1.32 ERA. Mike Baumann, I was surprised it's that high. He's been awesome. Brian Baker has been unbelievable. Danny Colombe, where he come from, veteran from a different team, microscopic 0.8, 4 ERA. Colano Perez has actually struggled a bit in April. He was their best, I thought their next best reliever last year, next to Felix Batista, 5.23. Yadier Cano hasn't given up a run in April at all. Fantastic. And we still haven't seen Dylan Tate. We still haven't seen Michael Givens. Pretty good. So Orioles off to the good start. So definitely we'll go ahead and follow along with the Orioles all season long. They're legitimate contenders. They, as long as their pitching holds up, they are going to be ready to go. That's the only question I have. You have enough offense. Your bullpen is great. Defensively, I think you're pretty good. It's not great. You're great in spots. Mateo is outstanding defensively. Mullins is outstanding defensively. Retchman is outstanding. So defense up the middle is great. Mountcastle too. I think he's really good at first. I don't know what people are talking about there. So I think you're have really good chance. But do you have enough starting pitching? Gibson has to have that type of pace, and we need to see more from a couple of the veteran starters. One other thing I did want to mention. Name not on that list. Cole Irvin. He was sent down early in the month, and that was a shock. They gave up a bunch of picks to get him in the minors. We'll go over minor leagues again here pretty soon, but that was a wow. That was because he was so good in spring, and he was probably their prize starter bringing it out of camp. So go O's. O's doing well here at the start. Bad competition. We'll see how they do now. They haven't had a lot of games with the Yankees and the Braves and etc. The heavy. So we'll see how that goes. We'll take a look at the NFL draft here, the whole league. We'll go ahead and check that out. Here are the drafts. Well, let's go positive first. What the best draft, I thought. I don't think the Ravens had the best draft. I think these teams did. Eagles with Jalen Carter and getting Ringo and getting those. Yeah, you strengthening your already very, very good defense that you had. Not a lot of needs. So I thought they were one. I thought the Texans were two. You get C.J. Stroud, and then you take that 12 pick and turn it into a 3. I think I wrote that. I think I did that wrong when I got that. Will Anderson. So I think you got the best guy on both sides. I had Stroud as the best quarterback, and I had Will Anderson as the best defensive player, right along there with Jalen Carter. So, yeah, that's outstanding for the Texans. Steelers were phenomenal on draft day. Wow, how fortunate were they that Joey Porter fell to the second round. I couldn't believe that. Nobody took Joey Porter in the first round. And then they went ahead and they got the offensive tackle. They badly need help on the offensive line. So they were great. I thought the Seahawks also as well. I got no problem with Witherspoon first. They had a couple first-round picks. Jackson Enigma definitely as well in the first round. And also, too, in the draft. Bengals. Actually, I thought were very good as well. I think I had them put them at 5 in the draft as well, as far as teams that actually won the draft. Losers. Patriots. I don't know what they're doing. Kicker, punter. They're always doing weird stuff. They're always doing stuff that I could tell. People keep saying Belichick's not running the draft. He must. He's got to be the one pulling the trigger. Lions, I thought they had a good draft. I had them at losers. You took a running back way too high. And I'm not one of these ones like Pete Briscoe and the silliness where you can't ever take a back. But you already have one. So why are you taking 112? And then you take Jack Campbell. I thought he was like third round, second round. You took him high. I think they didn't feel value in the first round. I got to put them. Hey, rest of the draft was decent, but they really, I just couldn't do it for that. Falcons, B. John Robinson in the first round. No real problem with that. Again, you got no QB. That doesn't make sense. The Falcons, they've had a very weird offseason. Cowboys, I thought that Mozzie Smith was a bit too high for them. I thought I didn't get it with them. Why teams are so high on him as far as that goes. And 49ers, I had them at 5th. I didn't get it with them. Not as bad. But again, teams I think drafted very well overall. So let's take a look at the selection meeting. Bryce Young was taken first overall. No surprise there. C.J. Stroud went second to the Houston Texans. I thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. I thought both teams did exactly what they should have done, taking the quarterbacks early. Will Anderson, Texans were able to move up. Great defensive player. Going to have to double team him. And that's a great move. They need help everywhere. They have the total rebuild in Houston still. I do like the coach better than the last two selections. D'Amico Ryans, I'm not surprised. He went defense outside. I'm not surprised at all. Anthony Richardson, I hate to keep killing him. overdrafted here. I thought he's a much lower pick. And I thought this is the worst place he could have went, where the expectations gonna high. He's gonna have to play right away. And he's playing for GM and owner that are just total, just total YouTube policy. It's just this is not good. I'd like to see him go somewhere and sit because he has a lot of physical ability, a lot of talent. But I don't like it. I didn't like it. Devin Witherspoon, I had him one of the 3 elite corners in the draft. I got no problem with Seattle taking him first. I would have went Christian Gonzalez here, but I've got no problem with it. If they'd have taken him or Joey Porter here, if somebody said one of those two, don't have a big problem with that as far as that goes. So Devin Witherspoon, I thought was a good choice here in the first round for them. Next, Paris Johnson. So Arizona moves back and they move up to 6. They take Paris Johnson at right tackle. Nothing wrong with protecting Kyler Murray when he eventually gets back at right tackle. They've struggled on their line a bit. He gets hit a lot. I think that's why he's injured, and that's why they looked at. So Paris Johnson, probably along with Peter Stroud, like the safest pick that you can make here as far as an offensive tackle. You almost never go wrong with tackles. They almost always play well in the league when you take one this high. Tyree Wilson, offensive rush in. I thought he was the second best in the draft. Raiders. Only thing is with them, did you need it? Did you have to do it? But again, I got no problem with it. Probably best player on the board. B. John Robinson is phenomenal talent in Atlanta. No problem with that. The only thing I didn't like about it with them is like I don't think it's going to matter if that Desmond Ritter's quarterback. I don't know how good is he going to be, with 8 in the box all the time. With that, Jalen Carter, we already touched on it. This is almost unfair what they're doing here with that type of player here. Darrell Wright, high for him. I saw him moving up boards. I didn't like him as much, but I thought it was a little high. Bears could use it. They traded down from the first overall pick, and they traded again. Here they were at 9. They traded again. I kind of didn't. I understand it again, but I thought it was a little high. I thought like you do all that. That's not kind of what I would have done there, but I get it. Peter Stronsky, I had him as the number 1 tackle. He's going to play guard. He's going to be phenomenal guard. I think he's a little smallish for D tackle, as good as he was at Northwestern. That's why they moved him to guard. I think eventually, though, I don't see how good as good as he is, he's going to play tackle. Jahmyr Gibbs, that's a shot. Even he was surprised, he said. At running back, he's going to go ahead and be their bell cow. They have a couple backs. That's why I didn't get the pick as good as he is. He belongs in the first round, no question. Set the edge. Lucas Van Ness at offensive outside linebacker. A little high for him. He might become a better pass rusher than Heisman, but I see Jarrett Johnson type, Mike Vrabel type with him. That definitely fits in with Green Bay and the culture. That's why I think they went ahead and they did that. Bradley Jones, I thought was the third of the 3 very good offensive tackles in the first round. He's a little bit more boomer bust, I think, but I think he's really good. The Steelers absolutely have to have an offensive tackle. And I think that's why they traded up. They wanted to move ahead of the Jets, who were for sure going to do that. Emmanuel Forbes, so many of these corners, you could have taken in the first round, second round, whatever. Forbes, I've been watching. I've been watching a lot of corners because I thought the Ravens might have taken a corner. No real problem with it. He can go ahead. I think it's higher than probably should have been. But they took him at 16. I thought if they took him at 20 or 22, big problem. Christian Gonzalez, great pick for the Patriots. Didn't like what they did overall, but I like this. Christian Gonzalez, I thought he was the best. I thought he was the best corner in the draft. I thought he was top 10 player. They got him at 17. Look, when I look at corners, everybody else looks at it. What do I look at? Best coverage. That's this guy. Best coverage. So they have some. They had Devin McCourty retire. So they need some help in the secondary. Jack Campbell, Detroit Lions. I know why they take them. I could see why the coaches and everything. It's way too high. This is a second round pick. A lot of people didn't agree. They had him ahead of Trenton Simpson. I didn't. That's okay. I can see why they picked him. It's a reach. It's too high. Too high. I didn't like it. Kayla Yancey. Very interesting product. Defensive tackle. Defensive tackle. A little small for D tackle, I think, at the next level. I think it'd be interesting to see how he does. Very dominant, though. I tell you, whenever you watch Pittsburgh play, he was very dominant when he played. He was very, very good. Jackson Smith-Nigba went ahead and played for went ahead in Seattle. I thought he was the best wide receiver in the draft. So good job for the Seahawks to go ahead and do that. I thought they very good. And they already have receivers. So, and again, he had an injury. He could kind of ease in. Quentin Johnson. They have 4 receivers in a row here for the Chargers. They have some injury issues with the receivers. So it makes sense that they're taking one. Zay Flowers. I think we covered that with the Ravens. Jordan Addison, Minnesota, gonna go ahead and play as well. They got rid of Adam Thielen. So again, great spot for him, like a Jordan Addison. Hey, look, you got Justin Jefferson on the other side, no pressure at all. You can go ahead, go right in and learn. Love that. Deontay Banks from Maryland goes to the Giants. He's going to play press coverage with Martindale. You know what he's going to do. Lots of man-to-man. Lots going to be expected of him. I think he's absolutely up to that in that Giants defense. Dalton Kincaid, only tight end taken in round 1. Understand why they took a tight end. I like Michael Mayer better. I could kind of sense that this was maybe coming with Dalton Kincaid because he's more or less cooler looking than Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer looks more like a traditional tight end, but this guy looks more like the hybrid. Good speed. So I could kind of see why a team would take him over Michael Mayer. But hey, look, he's on a good team here. He doesn't have to carry it. Mozzie Smith, think he's a little high, but it was a need for them. I didn't love it though. I saw him move up. I didn't really see it. Anton Harrison, I like him. Jags are picking him there. I get it. I got really no problem with that pick. They're out of what defense. I think they need more help on defense, but offensive line because they have skill players. Absolutely. Miles Murphy. How did this happen where the Bengals were able to grab him late in the first like this? So I thought he was one of the top 3 edge rushers. He goes all the way to 28. They already have 2 good edge rushers. So that says a lot. So he doesn't have to start. They already have Hubbard and Hendrickson. So interesting to see what happens. Brian Breeze, I thought he was first round pick as well. Late first round, right for him. D tackle did very well. I thought this year. Brian Breeze, he's a good solid guy. Nolan Smith goes to the Philadelphia Eagles in the first round. This is about right. This is exactly where he should be at. Outstanding athlete, outstanding combine, but it's not a reach. You already had a first round pick. You could come in and develop it. When you have a shot like I always like pick like this, the combine guys or something like that, take a shot if you have 2 first round picks. Take a shot if you get an extra. Nothing wrong with that, taking a shot on that potential. Like it just fine. And Philip Owuze-Uwuma. Chiefs, I thought, went to the right position. There was a couple guys already gone. I like B.J. Rozzi a little better than him, etc. But we'll see. That's about right. I'm not killing it too because you're at the very end of the first round. It's fine. So there you go. NFL draft now over. So thank you very much for checking that out with us. Next week, so now the draft is over, we'll take a look at some more baseball as well. Uh, as far as that goes, see how the Orioles did. We'll definitely have our Orioles report here, like we usually do. Also, too, as well, we're going to do NFL better or worse next week for better or worse. All right, so we'll see which teams got better, which teams got worse. Because now we can really project it. Draft is over. Uh, Teams are now in mode. All the significant additions have been made on almost all teams. You might have one here or there at this point, but as far as for the 2023 season, 2024 going, this is the teams look now how they look. So we know. So we'll go ahead and go over that next week. Who got better and who got worse. All right. So thank you very much for joining us this week on our Ravery Sports podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast for fans like me. You have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy all the games.